My name is Lindsay Ellyn.
And I am Taylor Alexander.
And in 48 hours, we are getting married.
This is true. It's actually less than 48.
It's officially less than 48 hours. So what are we doing here, right? We should be back in Nashville preparing for a minor event that we're having on Sunday.
Yeah.
That would be the normal thing to do. Well, we are two people who somewhere along the line made the conscious decision in life to pursue careers in music. So we are not normal. And so we are here, and we're so excited. And what we want to talk about today is the creative process and changing the creative process to allow for partnership and collaboration, which we really need to nail in the next 40 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when this opportunity presented itself to speak at a TEDx event, of course we jumped at it, especially when we found out that it was going to be all about change. Because we kind of saw this as an experiment to try out something that we've never tried out before. Like she was saying, we get asked all the time, since we're a couple and we're songwriters, hey, have you guys ever thought about writing a song together? And we're, not really.
No.
There's some reasons for that, which we'll get into later. But we tasked ourselves to see if we could make space in this really deeply personal creative process for one another and see if we'd come out as better artists at the end of it.
And Nashville is really a case study as to why this is important. Has anyone here spent any time in Nashville? Have you visited or gone?
All
okay,
right.
cool, good. We're in the right place. Well, if you know anything about Music Row and the process, you know that it's really interesting. It's a town of really accomplished writers, and they're coming together sometimes in like a blind date kind of scenario, and they're writing a song or working on a song in a session, and then it's hopefully pitched and out the door for another artist to record pretty quickly. And so a lot of the songs that you'll hear on the radio, for instance, that are coming out of Nashville or even in LA in some cases are completed in this format. Actually, the #1 song on country radio right now was composed by 4 writers.
It's true. So it was kind of a culture shock in a certain sense. I came from Georgia and she came from New York City, and neither one of us had really plugged into a songwriting community, so we hadn't ever really thought to do that, right? To collaborate and write songs with other people. We'd always done it alone. There's obviously a lot of merit, though, to a partnership in any industry, but especially in creative endeavors. But we, like a lot of artists, were kind of worried because we kind of had this idea that collaboration could water down our work or cause the song to like lose our personal voice, or even worse, like create this assembly line approach to music that kind of flew in the face of the reason why people like her and I decided to start writing music, which was to write really personal kinds of stories and these sorts of things.
So in the spirit of change, we saw this as a great opportunity to task ourselves to come together and co-write. And y'all, it was the best and most free, like, premarital counseling we could ever get.
Yeah, conflict resolution, yeah.
Because it was so tough, and change is tough, right? And we were vulnerable in ways we hadn't been before. It wasn't comfortable, but we pushed through, and we ended up writing a song, and we learned a lot of things in the process, and so we wanted to talk about that.
It was one thing that was kind of funny about it is it felt like this awkward first date with someone who had already agreed to marry
Totally.
you.
Yeah.
That's good.
You're locked in.
This is the first key thing that I learned immediately was, so I kind of came to the table with the idea for the song, and so I think I felt like I had this, at least a misplaced idea that I had kind of ownership, or like it was my baby. And so I found that collaborating for me kind of evoked this fight or flight response. I think that our artistry and our ideas, our work, gets really tied up in our self-perception. And so when somebody doesn't like your idea or doesn't really care for your work, it tends to make your brain make you go crazy. And I've kind of found that we were either butting heads over the idea or, leaving the room.
Yeah.
Well, no, slamming the door didn't happen, but we did leave the room. A couple,
So with that said, we learned that we really needed to assume positive intent from our collaborator, our partner. You think about in this kind of scenario, for us it was writing songs, but it could be in any collaborative process. Everyone's coming into the room vulnerable and open and wanting to share, and everyone's coming to the table wanting to do a good job. So we found that when we started from that place mentally, it really transformed the process and allowed us to succeed in the right.
Yeah. The third thing here is that you have to learn when to surrender. So we kind of found that we were fighting really hard, like I said, for our unique perspectives and things like this. Like we wanted to get our line in there or whatever, but what ended up happening was we just ended up kind of spinning our wheels. We weren't really getting anywhere because we weren't creating space for each other to actually work. And so when we learned how to let go of things and create space, other people, she started to succeed in the right, and then she was less frustrated, or vice versa. And that was key to us actually completing the song.
It was critical, and we're so grateful that we learned that through the process. And ultimately, we learned that changing your creative process drastically changes your product. But that's the beauty of collaborating. And so you walk away with something that you could have never made by yourself, that you made with another person. And in our book, that's growing, and that's a success.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd really like to task everybody in here, whether it's in creative endeavors or anything else, to allow collaboration.
Yeah, and collaborate in ways that make you a little uncomfortable and kind of kick you outside of your comfort zone. We did for the sake of this talk, and we want to share the song that we wrote. It's the first song we've ever written together.
Yeah.
And it's called The Real Thing. And Taylor, why don't you tell them a little bit about how you came up with the idea for the song?
Like I was saying earlier, I had the original idea for this, and then I brought it to her. And I had the idea when I was at a concert seeing music, and I was looking around, and there's this new thing that I hadn't noticed until like the last 5 years, where everyone watches the concert like this through their iPhone. You ever seen that? And I thought it was super weird, and it's like I said, it's something that's only been able to happen for the last 5 years, and it made me think that we really do kind of live our lives through pictures a lot, and maybe we miss out on some things when we do that, and that's kind of what this song's about, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I once had an old picture postcard, some greetings from somewhere else. And though I wish you were here, it sounded sincere. I can't say I've gone myself, 'cause that ain't the real thing. Wait for a sign, some poetic line to come sweep you off your feet. But you can't turn down love, just 'cause it don't measure up to what they sell on TV. 'Cause that ain't the real thing. Have you thought about the moments you barely missed while you were busy taking pictures so you don't forget? With 1,000 words ain't worth a lot when all you really wanted was the real thing. That ain't the real thing. Flip through and read a cheap magazine while you stand in the checkout line. It's a face on a page that don't look her age, and there is a reason why, 'cause that ain't the real thing. Have you thought about the moments you barely missed while you were busy taking pictures so you don't forget? Well, 1,000 words ain't worth a lot when all you really wanted was the real thing. Well, 1,000 words ain't worth a lot when all you really wanted was the real thing. That ain't the real thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.